Right now, a wave of calcium is flooding your synapses. It sounds like just electrical chemistry, but this microscopic flow isn't random. It's running an elaborate cellular clockwork. Your body doesn't just activate or deactivate. It constantly switches between highly efficient states and sluggish, chaotic ones. Imagine your cells are trying to tune a radio. Some moments the signal is crystal clear coherence, other times it's static. This stability isn't controlled by willpower alone. It's dictated by how calcium pulses through organelles like the ER, creating nonlinear signatures that tell us everything about your internal state. We call this correlation mapping inner alchemical transformation, a subtle biological shift tied to mitochondrial energy cycles and pattern neuron firing. Think about cellular life like a complex orchestra. For too long, we treated calcium simply as a single loud note, an activation signal. But what researchers are now finding is that it operates like nuanced orchestration. The pattern of these tiny Tolertex K2 pluses, how quickly they rise and fall in places like the endoplasmic reticulum, actually dictates whether an entire neural network enters deep focus or scattershot anxiety states. It's not just a switch, it's modulation on nanosecond timescales. This subtle chemical language shows that profound shifts in our internal state are rooted in these dynamic cellular patterns, a fundamental link between molecular biophysics and subjective experience. We've all assumed consciousness was just a high-speed electrical fireworks show in our brains, right? But what if the real key isn't speed? It's stability? Think of your cellular environment like a perfectly balanced ecosystem instead of a simple battery switch. We are seeing that how your mitochondria manages calcium, this internal energy cycling we could call prana flow modulation, dictates whether your neural network is merely firing or truly resonating with an emergent pattern. It's the difference between noise and insight, which means something nobody expected for self-organization. If our inner buffering system shifts into a state of deep resonance, what actual macro experience does that generate? You have to see how this architecture changes everything next. Imagine your cells aren't simple light switches. They are hyper-complex biological computers capable of emergent behavior, states that exceed their individual parts simply interacting with each other. This isn't just about being awake or asleep. It is about a deep, synchronized coherence happening inside you at every moment. We see this in how cellular architecture reorganizes based on tiny calcium shifts. The network state itself becomes the signal, not the initial input. But some researchers argue that these patterns are merely noise, random thermal fluctuation amplified by observation bias. If they right, all of this self-organization is illusion. Are we just reading complex shadows? Find out why this shift from molecular flicker to conscious coherence fundamentally changes everything next. We think neural activity is about on and off signals, right? Like light switches flipping up and down. But look closer at calcium itself. It's not just an activator, it's the conductor of complex orchestral shifts inside every cell. A minute change in how fast that internal signal flows, that subtle pattern of release, is what determines if your brain is generating sharp, focused thought or a deep, expansive state of quiet presence. Think of it like tuning a delicate instrument. Small adjustments to the tension produce vastly different sounds. The cellular system reacts non-linearly. Tiny inputs lead to massive organizational shifts. But when this pattern stabilizes and achieves coherence within the cell's architecture, that's when something extraordinary happens inside. What is it? You might assume that consciousness is simply a matter of signal strength, right? More firing equals more presence. But what if it's not about how much energy you have, but how perfectly organized the internal echoes are? We've been looking at neural spikes as lights flashing on a circuit board. Now we see them as ripples in a vast pond, ripples that govern how those circuits fold and reorganize themselves entirely. This delicate balance of calcium within every single cell doesn't just allow life. It dictates when your entire system decides to jump from chaos into coherent clarity, almost like tuning an impossibly fine instrument. The conventional view fails here because the pattern itself matters more than the power source. And that is only half the story. The chaos we feel often isn't an external problem. It's a cellular stutter, a loss of dynamic resonance within your own system. We are talking about how subtle shifts in calcium buffering can transition complex neural networks between incoherent noise and unified insight. Think of your internal energy regulation not as turning a light switch, but tuning an antique radio dial until the static clears and pure signal emerges. The key takeaway is presence itself. Deliberate attention to your moment-to-moment somatic state stabilizes those fundamental cellular rhythms. You are shifting from reactivity to self-organization simply by observing without judgment. The full research archive is at jmthomasofficial.com. We have moved beyond asking what consciousness is. Now we ask how it sustains itself at a physical level. Every profound shift you experience, that moment of deep clarity or unified presence, is measurably linked to precise, subtle control over the calcium signals inside your cells. It's not just turning something on, it's tuning an intricate biological instrument until it finds its natural resonant frequency. To foster that state is to modulate how energy cycles within your mitochondria and cellular networks. You are seeking stability in a system designed for constant flux. Begin by observing, without judgment, the internal flow of sensation rather than fighting it. That quiet attention allows your inner architecture to self-organize toward coherence. The full research archive is at jmthomasofficial.com.